in the last episode said, Rick leads the town to rescue Glenn, although they successfully save the two. Vincent is killed. Finally, Daryl attracted all the firepower, and Rick could escape. During this time, Michonne quietly slipped into Governor's room. She always felt there was a secret here. The moment she entered, Michonne was stunned. The governor had collected so many heads, and the top one was the pilot. It seemed her guess was right. Governor, this person exterminated people, a small team, but also, in front of the residents, said that they were going to help them. This time, the cabinet below actually made a sound. Michonne opened it, and she couldn't believe it. This bastard was holding a child captive here. Michonne comforted the child. Do not be afraid, she will get her out. But after taking off the hood, she found that this was a zombie girl, and she will not be merciful to zombies. Governor pleaded with Michonne not to hurt her and said he even threw the pistol aside. Michonne looked at Governor's face and understood that he was the girl's father but could not accept her death. The governor stepped closer and closer, pleading with his mouth not to hurt his daughter, but Governor went crazy, screaming and rushing up to cut the woman into pieces. The two just wrestled together. Michonne's knife fell to the ground, and her fighting ability was greatly reduced. But Governor's physical strength was very strong, and he pulled her head and smashed it into the fish tank. Michonne resisted with all her strength and pulled off all the heads. The governor drags Michonne and tries to get to the zombie's head. Just as Michonne is about to be bitten, she breaks free and goes for her long knife. But soon, Governor grabbed Michonne's neck again. In the nick of time, Michonne ripped off a piece of glass and stuck it directly in Governor's eye, leaving him completely defeated. Michonne also picked up her knife and was about to kill Governor when she felt someone coming from behind her and turned around. Andrea can't believe that her best friend tried to kill her perfect husband. She can't believe that Governor is such a nice person and Michonne can do it. The two have suffered together for more than 8 months, so naturally they don't want to worsen their relationship. Michonne put down the knife in her hand and turned around to leave the place. Andrea then went up to check the situation. Governor ignored her but picked up his daughter's body and cried. Andre looked at this man. Incomparable heartache. Do not know how to comfort him. Rick and the others who escaped did not leave because Daryl was still inside. At this time, Michonne also comes here. Rick immediately puts a gun to her head, asks her where she just went and even suspects her of being a spy for the town. Michonne said she helped Rick rescue them, whether he wanted to take them back to the prison or go in to save them. They needed help, and Michonne could help him. Rick heard and said nothing more. At this point in the town, Governor took care of the wound. He has permanently lost an eye. At this moment, the residents of the town gathered and then began to speak up, accused of these terrorist attacks, but also their own eyes, said the sacrifice, and suddenly the crowd was furious. At this time, the governor said that one of them was a terrorist, Merle, and the others immediately looked at him with fierce faces. Governor went on to say that Merle, his right-hand man and latest partner, had betrayed them tonight and that he had let the terrorist in, because the terrorist that was caught was Merle's brother. The crowd was in an uproar. Andrea couldn't believe that it was Daryl. The town cried out to kill them, and it must be said that the governor does have a way of playing with people's hearts, and by killing these two men, he became the embodiment of justice again. The surrounding residents were shouting for their execution. Only Andrea rushed out to plead for mercy but was restrained by his man. Governor and Merle said that once he said that the loyalty of the town, now is the time for him to prove it. Kill his brother. Hearing this proposal, the residents also echoed it. Merle also shouted at this moment that he would prove it to them. And with that, he attacked Daryl directly. Daryl fell to the ground and did not fight back. Merle was kicking and kicking without any mercy. As they struggled together, Daryl said that the group would not let Merle go. Merle also whispered to Daryl that they would run away together. With that, the two rolled over and looked at the crowd back to back. Merle is bad. After all, blood is thicker than water, and Daryl is his only family in the world. At this time, Rick and the others had arrived and were throwing smoke bombs. At once, gunshots rang out, directly smashing several searchlights. In confusion, Daryl and Merle also fled quickly. Andrea looked at the corpse on the ground, sad. This was her good friend here, just killed by random gunfire. She could be said to hate this group of terrorists to the extreme. Daryl, on the run, grabbed a man's crossbow and quickly fled the area. Governor watched all this with an expressionless face. He would put to go to them. Rick a few people. The door broke open an opening, and then hurriedly left the place. A few zombies also sneaked in. Until the early morning, Glenn and Michonne, waiting by the car, praying for their safe return, they appeared inside the woods. But when they saw Merle, Glenn and Michonne both got excited and wanted to go up and kill the bastard who almost destroyed them. After Daryl and Rick calmed them down, Glenn and Michonne calmed down a bit. Merle was not scared at all but was chattering and mocking in the back, saying one vulgar word after another. Rick could not stand it and knocked him out because he was Daryl's brother, so he could live so long. Then several people come together to discuss the stay of these two people. For Michonne, Rick thinks she is an unstable factor. When she is healed, let her leave. As for Merle, everyone disagrees that he should go to prison. It is a rat turd and even threatens the family's safety. It's just that Daryl can't let his brother stay outside. Glenn said he is his brother, but his family is them and the people waiting in prison. Rick also said that Daryl was part of their family, but Merle was not, and he would endanger everyone. In the end, Daryl decided to with his brother, and he understood the feelings of the guys. Both sides are family. He was also very difficult. Daryl told the guys to tell Carol. He believes she will understand. Good brother gone. They are very sad. But this is no way things. The day must go on as usual. They must return to prison. There may be a big fight next. And during this time, the prison also happened some things. The 5 survivors scurried through the woods. The big man opened a path in front of them. The wife who ran at the end was bitten by a zombie on the arm. Her husband and son then turned back. The man rushed up and fought off the zombies, which saved his wife. Finally, they ran to the abandoned building. The people decided to go inside to hide. In the outside could not hold on. At night, in prison, Rick and other people go out to rescue Glenn has not yet returned. Carl, who stays behind a few people, suddenly hears that there is some movement in the depths of the prison. Carl then took a flashlight to check the depths of the passageway. He remembered his father's advice to manage this place well. And when he came to the depths, he heard the sound of someone talking. Carl walked in and saw that several strangers were killing zombies. Seeing that the woman could not hold on, he shot directly. This is when several people saw this little guy. Now the situation is urgent. They no longer dawdle quickly into the passage and finally to the cell. The big guy put the woman down, and her husband rushed over to check. Unfortunately, she was dead. Carl said flatly, "Leave it to me, or she will soon turn into a zombie." The woman was curious. "Who is this child? Was there anyone else here?" Carl said again, "Listen, they will help them but they, first, have to solve this." The big guy named Tyrese. He said they'd do it themselves. Just when Tyrese was about to do it, the woman's husband, Alan, was very reluctant. Now here to play affection, when escaped, he was the fastest runner. After dealing with the woman, Carl locked the cell door. He would not let these people in. Tyrese's sister Sasha was a little emotional. What happened to lock them in here? Carl said he couldn't let them in but would give them food and water. Sasha didn't buy it and was screaming at them to open the door. Tyrese rushed over to her sister to calm her down. They had saved them. And look at this place. It was the best conditions they had had in weeks. And it was their territory. The next day, Carl gave them food, and Herschel treated Alan's injuries. Sasha saw that there was a baby here and loved it. It's not easy to see children in the post-apocalyptic world. Tyrese told them where they came from. They had been wandering for 2 months and wanted to stay in prison, but Herschel said he didn't have a say here. Then turned around and went into the cell. The 4 understood that they would have to wait for their leader's return to decide. By noon, the men were ready to bury the bodies of their companions, but Alan had other ideas and told Tyrese to put the bodies down first, then walk forward, observing the prison, and then said this was a perfect opportunity. There is only a child and woman at the door. Pretend to let them help. Take the opportunity to seize the weapons, and take them directly by surprise. Tyrese said angrily, "They are good people, just save them, and he are going to kill them. There is a baby among them. Only an animal would do such a thing." Alan and his son were talking about how this is the law of survival in the end times. At this time, Beth and Lou kindly found shovels for them. Alan and his son looked at each other and walked over to them. Tyrese and Sasha immediately got ahead of them, took the tools, and thanked them. It was noon when Rick and the others finally returned to the prison, and Carl was relieved to see that his dad was okay. Carol was looking for Daryl and found he hadn't returned, so she was a little anxious. Rick rushed to comfort Carol. Daryl was still alive. He found his brother, so he would not come back with them. Carol was a little sad. Could she never see Daryl again? Daryl had done everything for Sophia. Carol had already treated him as a family member. Looking at Maggie and Glenn safely back, Herschel finally put his heart down. Rick came to the cell and did not go to see the few outsiders but to see his daughter's condition. Back Glenn also has a big change in temperament. No longer the usual cheerful smile. He looks at Maggie's eyes full of grief and anger and does not know what to say. because Glenn thinks Maggie must have been defiled by Governor. All he can think about is revenge. Afterward, Herschel treated Michonne and found that the woman probably hadn't slept for days. Rick didn't trust Michonne too much and just wanted her to get well and leave. The next few people met together. The situation is not optimistic now. Daryl also left the place. Governor would certainly not swallow this. The prison side of the fighting force was too small, and guns and ammunition were also low. Herschel suggested that perhaps a few outsiders could join. Rick did not speak but came outside. Tyrese politely extended his hand, but Rick didn't bother with him, instead asking how they got in. Tyrese explained, and Carl was beside himself. Say that they had gotten lost in the passage. Rick obviously freaked them out. Tyrese said, listening to Herschel said they need help. Killing zombies they are no stranger to. Food they also look for themselves, as long as they are given a place to stay. If someone attacks them, they will also help. Rick looked at it for 2 seconds and said 2 words. No. Sasha also pleaded on the side, but Rick still refused. He did not want to lose his teammates because of trusting strangers. Several people completely trusted Rick, no matter what he decided to do. Herschel called Rick aside, then said in a serious tone, Rick has done a lot for them, he saved their lives, and everyone is grateful. Whatever he says, they do, but he is now wrong. He has to learn to give others a chance to survive. Rick echoed Herschel's last sentence in his mind, thinking that he was indeed too sensitive. When he was about to agree, Rick saw a figure on the second floor. It was Lori. Rick was hallucinating again. His emotions started to break down, and he even pulled out a pistol. Tyrese. A few people were scared and rushed out of the place. Even teammates are a little scared. The next morning, Rick took the binoculars and searched for. Finally, Rick saw Lori again. She was at the cemetery. He rushed down the stairs. By the time Rick got here, Lori's figure had disappeared again. Rick looked around and finally saw Lori outside the fence again, then ran outside, scaring Michonne to get her weapon on guard. Rick came to the wooden bridge. Lori stroked his face, and the way Rick looked into the air was all in Michonne's eyes, and she knew there was something mentally wrong with this Rick guy. Now that Daryl is gone and Rick is crazy, Glenn has temporarily taken over as the leader, and he thinks should turn defense into offense and just sneak in and take out Governor. Glenn wants Michonne to go with them. Glenn is too eager to kill the bastard Governor. Herschel thinks that now cannot be impulsive. They can get out of here. Glenn was already overwhelmed by hatred and drove the car to the town, even though Maggie had told him that Governor didn't do anything to her. But Glenn didn't think so, and that's why he was so extreme. Herschel sighed and then looked at Rick wandering outside. He doesn't want the team to disband. He had to do something about it. Herschel went to the fence on crutches and then called Rick back. Now Glenn is angry and out of his mind. He's smart but hardly a leader. Governor could come at any moment and now is when everyone needs Rick. But Rick doesn't want to care. Herschel knows he's insane and asks Rick what he's looking for. Rick sadly says that he found Lori, and although he knows it's a hallucination, there must be a reason for her presence. After saying that, he walked towards the woods again. Carol and the others also came to the courtyard. Lou and she discussed Rick's situation. A second ago, Lou, still talking and laughing, was just killed, and the people rushed to be on guard. Michonne is in the back of the car to see, but it would be Governor-led people here. Rick heard the gunshots and was about to return,